An intellectual carrot, the mind boggles.
You see? You see? You're stupid minds. Stupid! Stupid!
Earth has had Santa Claus long enough. We will bring him to Mars.
I've been afraid a lot of times in my life, but I didn't know the real meaning of fear until I had kissed Becky.
One thing will be clear. It's not for man to interfere in the ways of God.
It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Earth vs. Soup, episode 103. I'm Aaron Pollier.
And I'm Darlene.
And we're going to be talking about a strange movie that most of the time during this movie, I was actually trying to figure out connections with either other movies or Star Trek. And it's because this is Dimension 5 from 1966. What do you have down for statistics, Darlene?
What do you mean statistics? It's an hour. It's 90 minutes long, colored. It says it's crime, science fiction, and thriller. I would not put it in that order. I'd put it in spy,
espionage, like an espionage movie first and foremost.
Thriller.
No, thriller. No.
Oh, then that's what they kind of call.
It's espionage and then barely science fiction. That's it.
It's got a grain.
It has a what?
A grain of science fiction.
Okay, yeah, it has a grain of science fiction. Now, the reason why I said that I was spending most of the time connecting this movie with Star Trek is because it actually feels like an episode of the original series of Star Trek in 1,000 different ways. First and foremost, our lead character is actually played by Jeffrey Hunter, who played Captain Pike in the Cage, in the pilot episode of The Cage. He plays a character named Justin Power. We have Frances Nguyen, and she is the lead heroine in this, who plays Kitty Lou, I think is her full character's name. Kitty Lou, yeah. I just write down Kitty, and she's Ellen of Troyes in, what is it? Is it the third season of Star Trek?
You know that more than I do.
We have a character that appears at the beginning of the film who is only credited as the Professor, and that he's played by John Lormer, who played Dr. Theodore Haskins in The Cage. So he was the chief medical officer on Enterprise under Pike. But he also played Tamar from Return of the Archons, and one of the characters from For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. Lots of Star Trek connections in this. But then, all of Espionage Incorporated sets look like it is a Star Trek set. To the extent that the lighting was similar, the control panels could have been from the set of the Enterprise.
And the sound. And the sound
was so much the original series that I deep dove into connections and found that, yes, the sound company was the same one. Darlene found it, actually. It was the same sound company that worked on the original series. So in so many ways, this feels like an episode of the original series, but I will say it felt like a bad episode of the original series. Remember the episode where Kirk and Spock go back to 1968, and there's Gary 7 or whatever, and he has a cat that's actually a woman, and it's that kind of episode. So have you ever seen this movie before?
No.
You haven't seen anything with Jeffrey Hunter in it, have you? Maybe we have. It's possible that we've actually seen a movie with Jeffrey Hunter in it for Earth vs. Soup. I just can't remember it at the time.
I love their character names. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Justin Power.
Yeah, Kitty.
Big Buddha.
Oh,
Kane.
Kane.
Kim Frang, Nancy Howe, Satu,
There's Genghis and Squeaky.
Stoneface, Professor, Slim, the Mute Girl,
The Mute Girl. No, okay,
Genghis Khan, Miss Sweetie, and George.
So-
and I don't even know who George is.
I will say also that Harold Sakata plays Big Buddha, and you may also recognize that actor. He is Oddjob from Goldfinger.
They actually, in the poster when they were putting it out, put his name.
As like Harold Oddjob Sakata. Yeah, it's crazy. Now, this movie also has a feel of being a television movie, but it wasn't. And the reason is that we found is that it was filmed to be a TV movie, but then they decided to release it theatrically. Because we've kind of said that we're not going to do TV movies.
Oh, and placement. Product placement.
Oh, this movie is filled
sponsored by
Pan
Am.
Sponsored by Pan Am.
Coca-Cola.
There's Coca-Cola product placement in it. Rolex.
Yeah.
Smirnoff vodka.
Yes.
You're like, oh damn, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because I'm the one that goes, they've got 3, not just 1, 3
times where you see like just bottles of Smirnoff.
Well, no, there are 3 in a row right there.
Well, there's Smirnoff vodka at Espionage Incorporated, and there's Smirnoff at that bodega that he goes into.
Yeah, but I laughed about the 3 of the same bottles sitting up there.
Well, they're on display. So, folks, this is a very strange movie. Let's get into the plot.
I will let you do the plot, because this is cheesy like old James Bond.
It is cheesy like old James Bond, but I will stop it for specific moments where we get to see airplane tail numbers. I know that's like that's just one of my things, and I apologize for people out there that are like, oh my god, he's going to talk about airplanes again. No, there's actually a story about this, at least about one of these planes.
One of the planes that has 3 different tail numbers.
Yeah, but I only dealt with 2 tail numbers in this because I didn't want to have like everybody freaking out. All right, so 2 people are fleeing from police while driving a beautiful old car. Now, Darlene found out what that car was. Did she write it down?
Yeah, I did somewhere.
You're speaking away from the microphone.
I said, yes, I found out.
I think it was like an
did
MG,
I write it
wasn't
down?
I thought it was like an MG.
MG, yes. I didn't write it down.
So it's actually Jeffrey Hunter and a random woman that we don't really know who it is. They stop as they're like running away from these cops. They just stop at Bronson Cavern, right? Like at the entrance to Bronson. And Jeffrey Hunter, and I do not write him down as Justin Power. I wrote him down as Jeffrey Hunter throughout my entire notes.
Well, this is supposed to be either Italy or Mexico, because the Polizia.
I think it's supposed to be Spain. I think it's supposed to be Spain.
That would be Guardia Civil.
It could be. Then it might
but
be
it
Italy.
doesn't
I don't know.
Polizio.
It's weird. They don't really ever say where the hell they are. But anyway, they stop their car at the entrance to Bronson Caverns, and Jeffrey Hunter just backhands this girl that he's with. And
well, he kisses her first.
Yeah, and then backhands her like hard. And I'm like, okay, what are we supposed to think about this guy now? Like immediately, this is our hero, folks. This is Jeffrey Hunter. This is Captain Pike.
He's not a hero.
This is Captain Pike. He backhands this woman. And she's knocked the F out. So he runs into the caves. The police chase him into the caves. He runs out of the other side of the caves.
Which is the front of Branson Cave.
Well, it's one of the entrances to the caverns.
It was the same one.
And he like disappears in like a special effect. That's the best way I can say it. He like he quickly fades out of view in like 3 frames. But they like take color out of him while he's doing it. So like all of a sudden he looks like blue, then red, then he's gone or something like that. They don't know what the hell is happening, and he just sort of reappears the same way behind them, and then runs back into the caves. He then runs back out of the caves, and I wrote down, Keystone Cops at this point. Like, you're just running in and out of this cave for no damn good reason. There's a helicopter that's been kind of hovering over the area, and he is then picked up by the helicopter. He boards an aircraft after being dropped off at an airport. The credits roll. Okay. So that's our introduction to this character. All we know is that Justin Power, his name, Justin Power. All we know is that he drives fancy cars, backhands women after kissing them, and is on the run from the police. He has like magic powers in a foreign country, and he has magic powers. That's all we know. Okay. We get through the credits, and we get to our first tail number, and it's the best tail number in this whole story. The tail number is a Pan Am aircraft. It's a Pan Am 707-321B, and it's a tail number N761PA. It actually had a name. It's Clipper Friendship. It's a named airplane,
which is rare.
Yeah, you're not.
You generally it never gets.
Pan Am named a lot of its planes.
Yeah,
but yeah, you don't often have named planes. Sometimes planes will be named after they've done something like amazing, like the Gimli Flyer. The Gimli Flyer got named the Gimli Flyer after it had the world's record glide. Yeah. So anyway,
I'm sure the plane that's a Miracle on the Hudson has got.
Well, it's dead. That plane, it landed in a river, Darlene.
Yeah, but you can still raise them up.
I know you can. And here's the thing: after this incident, this Clipper Friendship got rebuilt, and I'm shocked about this. Okay, so Clipper Friendship, it was filming this movie. Okay, it filmed this movie. This movie was like filmed sometime in like 1965, if I remember correctly. Okay. It actually ended up having a crash on the 28th of June, 1965. I ended up finding the incident report, and there were 153 people on this plane. Okay. It was flying out of San Francisco, and it was en route to Honolulu. It was at an altitude of about 800 feet when the turbine disc in its number 4 engine, its outboard right-wing engine, basically just tore off the engine.
And one of the passengers filmed this.
Yeah, okay. We haven't even gotten to the point that the passenger filmed this. This disc blew apart. It blew the engine apart, this outboard right-wing engine. And then because this engine tore itself apart, and they were like still gaining altitude, so there was a lot of engine power being put in, it ripped 25 feet of the right wing off the aircraft. Now, a passenger, like you said, was filming this because they were filming the takeoff of this aircraft. So it's this incredibly rare piece of footage that we saw. We ended up looking it up because we were just so shocked.
We were surprised that it wasn't one of the Mayday.
Like a Mayday episode, yeah. Air traffic disasters or something. And the reason is this wing gets ripped off. There's this fireball. You can see people, you can see people like shaking in the plane. Anyway, the pilot holds his ass together, turns around, and ends up landing at Travis Air Force Base in California. 0 injuries, 0 fatalities.
Even on the ground, where a whole bunch of pieces, debris.
Because this engine blew up over San Francisco. So like parts of the engine, big parts of the engine, came down on San Francisco neighborhoods. No injuries on the ground. That whole 25 foot of wing came down on a house. No injuries.
Lucky.
Pan Am paid to have the house repaired too. This was back in the day where the airlines dealt with crap like this when it happened. Now here's the thing. This plane lands at Travis Air Force Base. Pan Am sends another plane to pick up all the passengers. It crashes at Travis Air Force Base because all the passengers need to still go to Honolulu.
Wasn't it the front landing?
Its nose gear collapses as soon as it lands, and it skids along the runway while all these passengers are watching. Pan Am goes, no problem. We'll take care of this. And he sent out a third plane, and that's the one that lands and takes them to Honolulu. Only like 8 people decided that they weren't going to go.
And there's this wonderful, is that Dan Rathers that's doing that?
It wasn't Dan Rather, no. Yeah, there's a news report from the time that we watched about this specific plane. And I'm sorry, yeah, we're obviously getting into something completely different than the science fiction movie. The point is that these are like weird pieces of history that you sometimes see in these movies. But we saw an old newscast that we found. If you do a search for Pan Am 843, Flight 843 from 1965, you will find the old newscast on this, and it'll show the couple, this husband and wife that ended up filming this disaster while it happened, and how they're cool as cucumbers afterwards. Like they said, we decided that we were just going to keep filming because if we all died, at least they'd find the footage and know what happened. And they're completely cool about it. Like, yeah, that's okay. We're really liquored up and we've had our smokes. We're fine. We just almost died on this airplane, and another airplane is landing behind us and having its landing gear collapse. We're okay. We're okay. So anyway, a really strange story that came out of one of these tail numbers. This is why we look this stuff up. Again, credit to the pilots that were on this aircraft that got it back down onto the ground safely with half a wing. Like, utterly shocked. And it was still on fire.
1.5 wings.
Yeah, 1.5 wings. Like, it half of its right wing was gone. Half its starboard wing was gone. The number 4 engine was like in a neighborhood in San Francisco. Like, crap, we left that behind, guys. We're gonna have to circle a little bit over San Francisco Bay as I try to like put the fire out in the wing.
Yes, they were doing that too.
They got the fire out and then they landed and it caught back on fire. Like, anyway, let's get back to the movie. Jeffrey Hunter was on this airplane, and he then ends up getting onto another helicopter and flies to the California Federal Building. Now, a man meets him, and he's happy that Hunter used this thing called the time converter on this last mission. Now, here's the science fiction element of this film. It turns out that this organization is called Espionage Incorporated. It's kind of like if Archer was a television show that was like live action. That's what it really felt like, didn't it, Darlene? In some ways. Like a live action Archer without the jokes.
Well, they did have puns that was he kept on trying to do and failing miserably. Yeah,
I mean, a less funny Archer live action series. That's what this could have been. Just because it does. Anyway, he's really happy that he used this time converter and says, hey, don't worry. It's only a 1 out of 100 chance that you get stuck between moments in time and are lost forever. And Hunter's like, well, I guess there's dangers in my profession, and shrugs it off. Like, holy crap, that's terrifying. That's kind of like an existential threat to your existence. Plus the fact is that later on we learn that these time belts can cause paradoxes. That if you misuse this belt, you can easily cause universal ending time paradoxes.
Yes, because he says don't ever kill a person.
Don't ever kill a person in your own past.
Go in the past.
Because regardless of if you've ever even met them or if you've heard that they're dead, the fact is that killing somebody will influence your past and therefore destroy you. And there's like another rule that they end up having, that you have to make sure that wherever you are, if you jump into the past or the future, that there's nothing where you're going to be. So Hunter's...
So I don't know how you do that with the future
or the past. Because here's the thing. This is the problem that Doc Brown had in Back to the Future. Okay, is that you need to be able
to movie. If you didn't know which that one is, Aaron will growl at you.
Yeah, how do you not know what Back to the Future is? It's just arguably one of the most perfect movies ever made. Regardless, the point is that if you travel through time and appear somewhere where there is something, an unmentioned bad thing happens, and you can argue that it's likely that the fact that you'll just explode into a puff of logic,
I
or
think
the
time
universe will
travel
end.
would be impossible because you're putting matter from one point to another. And I was told
Well,
that
it means that
matter is
it means that mass and energy have to that aren't constant at a specific point in time. But perhaps you could make an argument that matter and energy are constant in the overall picture. If there's an imbalance, it has to be corrected at some point. That's probably what they're
so
trying
you
to
just
say.
created a black hole.
I don't know, maybe. Which is probably one of those like universe-ending things that if you time travel and appear inside of a wall, but it's the same problem that Doc Brown has in Back to the Future. That, hey, look, I'm going to get the flying conversion done on the DeLorean because at the very least there's less things that I can randomly hit in the air than on the ground. So like there are moments in this movie where at the end, and I'll talk about it now, that Hunter and Kitty, who's the other character, time travel on places where people walk constantly, like the stairs on the dock. How do you know that, like, and you're not going there in the middle of the night, and even in the middle of the night, this is some criminal's dock. There could be people walking up and down these stairs. There could be a bird sitting on these stairs, for all you know.
A seagull shitting.
Language. But yeah, I mean, he says the best place to do it, he says...
Defecating, is that better?
Yeah, the best place to do it is on a beach. And I thought, no, it's not. I mean, yeah, a beach theoretically has less traffic on it, but if you're time traveling, and it's not like you're time traveling years. He does say later on that there are limits to the range that the time belt can move you, and that's 8 weeks forward or back. So I mean, it's not like you're time traveling like 10 years and suddenly the water level is different and you just appear ankle deep in water, and that would probably make you explode.
But in some places, like in England, you can actually have the tide change that.
Well, yes, and that's part of the problem. Like, why are you on a beach where this can happen? Or maybe, hey, I'm going to time travel 8 weeks into the future, and I appear randomly in like a storm where it's raining. Is that enough to like make you explode and cause the universe to? There's lots of questions that this movie raises, and it answers none of them. So let's get back to the plot. So he has this time converter belt. It's possible to disappear between the moments. And this belt looks like it is...
It looks like a cheap wrestler's.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It looks like it has like microwave oven dials on it, and
it's blingy.
Yeah, it has like bangles on it,
and it's silver.
Yeah, it's like silver scales or something like that.
Yeah,
it's very strange. And he has been told that his mission in wherever he was, and the mission that he's going to be going on, actually deals with this gang called the Dragons. Okay,
think of the Yakuza.
They're basically the Yakuza. And he goes into this control room for Espionage Incorporated. And this is where I was like, okay, hold on, Darlene. We need to look this up. Because it's all Star Trek. Like, the lighting, it has those weird kind of pinks and greens.
Well, I was telling you, when he first walked in, the door...
It went whoosh, whoosh.
And, no, yeah. When
it made a whoosh sound.
What's Kane? When he first hit the doors
there's like a palm reader, folks. Darlene's motioning with her hand against our fish tank.
I thought it was a button, but you are right. It was
It was a palm scanner.
It even made the board like you have in the...
Yeah, it made Star Trek computer sounds.
Yeah.
And then they go into the control room, and it sounds like the bridge of the Enterprise without the whoa, 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 whoa. That sound effect. It was all the controls, the computer noises that you generally hear on the bridge of the Enterprise from the original series.
And Aaron would know this because
those are my happy sounds.
Yes.
And I don't know, it was really off-putting, but I mean, it's just because it didn't seem like it fit. There's also this old researcher who is the guy that played the doctor in The Cage, who is talking about researching gravitons and anti-gravitons, and how once Espionage Incorporated discovers how to manipulate gravitons, that we could have anti-gravity rockets. And I'm like, all right, Espionage Incorporated looks like it's an operation that has a total of 8 employees.
Oh,
at the
you've got
most.
3 bimbos in the
Okay, they're not bimbos, they are secretaries. They are secretaries, and they never ever do anything sexual with anyone.
No, but you got 2 blondes and a black-haired woman.
Yes.
That black hair,
And they are firmly professional. I'm gonna give the movie credit where credit's due. They are professional. Now, Hunter's secretary at his fake import company, she's a little less professional.
she chooses gum, and she reminded me in her action like Fifth Element's what's his name's the evil person's secretary that was always painting her nails and popping gum.
Popping gum, yeah, at Zorg Industries. We get a second tail number in another scene as they're talking about gravitons. We get a second tail number, and it's actually another Pan Am airplane. And this is the other interesting plane from this movie, folks. I'm not going to talk about tail numbers anymore after this. It's tail number N404PA, and it's another named aircraft. It's Clipper 7Cs. It was retired from Pan Am in like the late 60s. It worked for some small airlines, and then was put into mothballs for a little while, but then was actually brought on into active service and renamed as Sachambre, and it actually flew for MIT, believe it or not. And they did research for electronics, like aviation electronics, and how it could. Anyway, lots of research being done with it, and it was only retired September 17th of 2020. So that plane that we see in the next scene is actually kind of a long use aircraft.
And that point in the next, this is the one where we're in the Philippines.
We're at Manila. We're at Manila. Yeah.
But actually, they say you're not. It was supposed to be Shanghai.
No. Okay. So there's lots of announcements happening in this terminal. Okay. What's happening is that there's a guy that is in handcuffs. He is a member of the Dragon Gang. There's a guy that is working for Espionage Incorporated. That is
2 guys.
2 guys that are bringing him back to San Francisco. Is that where they are, or is it L.A.? It's L.A. It has to be L.A. Where was I? And there's like 3 other groups of people in this terminal that are actually seemingly important. First of all, there's this old couple who are bitching about this guy is bitching about not liking being in Asia.
And his wife that's got the same knitted hat to knitted outfit.
Like, she's just like, we wanted to go on vacation. And I'm like, dude, look at this guy. This is 1965. This guy's like in his 60s. He probably fought in World War II, doesn't want to be there. And his wife is like, I want to do something, whatever. I don't know. That was like the first thought I had.
My
like
first
this
thought
guy.
was these 2 hate each other.
No, yeah, well, they clearly do. And you think they're going to be important for the story. Are they, Darlene?
No.
Okay.
Except that they take off running.
Yeah, they run away. But because the camera focuses on them and they're like nitpicking with each other, you think they're important to the plot. They aren't. So what happens now is there's this crazy plot between like other Dragon agents threatening to blow up a bomb unless their agent swallows a suicide pill. Okay. The other like Espionage Incorporated agent goes to the bathroom and gets attacked and taken out. The captured dragon guy is about to take this suicide pill, and then this other woman that's like the younger woman of this It looks like a mother and her daughter.
And she looks like she's doing crossword puzzle.
Yes, and she like shoots a dart into the back of this assassin's neck that has like the suitcase bomb and kills him, and she just kind of walks away.
It
looks like a blow dart, but it's not.
Well, no, her pin is one of those calligraphy pins.
Sure, but it has like a dart in it, is what I'm saying. So we know that there's multiple players now. It's getting complex, and is it any of this going to pay off? Really,
No.
Not really. Okay, so we then flash forward a little bit.
Well, one thing pays off.
Yeah, one thing does.
The person that kills the bomb person.
This is where we see Hunter going to his office at, quote, California Importers Incorporated. And again, this is where there should be somebody outside with a sign that says, "We are not spies," because it's so goddamn obvious that all of these people are just spies. And what are you doing? Are you actually working for the CIA, sir? No, he's working for a private espionage company called Espionage Incorporated. And he has this front company called California Importers Incorporated.
And they're working for people in Washington.
I just don't, I mean, in Archer, it's funny because it's ridiculous. Like they're private spies that contract work.
Maybe the people from Archer watched this.
I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. His secretary has tons of paperwork for him. She's the unprofessional secretary that is seemingly very nosy and interested in him. He blows her off hard because she's not being professional. And I thought, okay, we're going to have like
smacking gum.
Yeah. I thought, boy, we're going to have a love interest here. No, we're not.
No, because
we never see her again.
He's got she says she has a dinner. He has a dinner date with
the Espionage Incorporated agent that's been hired for this mission from Tokyo? Question mark? I don't know. So he is then told by Kane that he has to go pick up the dragon from the airport, this guy that's coming in from Manila. We get to the airport. He's been told that it's not good. He's not going to land at excuse me. He's not going to land at LAX, that he's been diverted to Ontario Airport. And I thought he's going to like Toronto or something. No, it's Ontario Airport in like near LA. Okay. This is where we see Oddjob waiting in a car. And he's just gonna be Oddjob. Yes, he's called Big Buddha in this, but he's Oddjob. Hunter sees Oddjob sitting in the car.
Oh, I will put it on this way. When Oddjob talks, he's dubbed.
He's dubbed, and it's very clearly not his voice. So Hunter sees Oddjob sitting in the car, and the most obvious assassin ever walks out of the airport. Okay, yeah,
God.
You forgot about that, didn't you?
No, I didn't. It's just, I was just like, oh my God, somebody needs to take this guy out with his clothes.
Well,
and
no.
he turns out to be and you go, why is somebody taking pictures?
Okay, no, we have to describe his outfit. The way I summed it up was he is New Jersey's father from Buckaroo Banzai. Like, if you think of a ridiculous cowboy outfit that is clearly not an actual cowboy outfit, but it is Hollywood's idea of what a cowboy should look like as if he was in Las Vegas.
Rhinestone cowboy.
He has, it's like a black shirt with like silver inlay arrows on it. He's got like this dumbass hat. And the thing is, he is covered in cameras. For some reason.
No, that was one big camera.
No, he had like extra cases all over him of like different cameras. He walks out of the airport terminal, walks across the street, turns around, and starts taking pictures of the aircraft terminal. And I thought, if anybody doesn't think this guy is like an assassin or somebody that is a terrorist, this guy is clearly out of his mind.
Let's just put it this way. Today, he would be picked up by the police.
Just walking out of the airport terminal, he'd be picked up and going, "Sir, Are you okay? Do you need medication? Like, it's clear as day that this guy is here for shenanigans, right? So Hunter sees this guy and kind of shrugs, going, all right. So the dragon walks out of the terminal and is killed by this cowboy
With his
with a
camera.
camera. There's like a camera gun. And Hunter sees this and goes, all right. And he dials his freaking belt back 5 minutes and appears before this guy walks out of the airport terminal. And he ends up going over and tackling this cowboy.
Slugging him.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Just,
it would have been funnier if he pimp slapped.
I mean, everyone in this movie deserves to be like slapped with a wallet, but regardless, the dragon agent is not killed, and he's put into a car and he drives away. Oddjob sees Hunter doing something silly, and we somehow avoid the paradox of Hunter encountering himself being right there watching this entire thing. Because remember, Hunter watched the events of everything happening. Okay? He then jumps back in time 5 minutes, prevents what he just saw from happening. There is no paradox. He didn't kill anybody, but he did save somebody's life, which is just as drastic to the timeline. Okay?
Yes, but that's what he was there for to do.
I know, but it means that this movie wasn't really thinking about the consequences of time travel beyond like the basic elements of it. All right, so
then you get the next science.
Oh my god, okay, I really need to speed up this plot because even though we've been a little bit bitching about this plot, there is a lot of stuff that happens in this movie. A lot of stuff.
Well,
go ahead.
Are you at the interrogation of this person?
No.
Oh.
No. Okay. Well, I am at the interrogation of this person.
Well,
so the dragon is brought in. He's put underneath like a hairdryer.
It looks like a hairdryer.
Okay.
Yes.
He's put underneath a hairdryer, which is a
1960s hairdryer.
It's a mind probe. Okay.
Yes.
The dragons, and he's basically forced to tell the truth. The dragons are planning on destroying Los Angeles. Quote, unless you remove all of your troops from Asia, the dragon will destroy LA on the 25th day of December.
With an H-bomb.
With a hydrogen bomb. Hunter is then given a second time controller for a second agent and told he needs to stop the hydrogen bomb from destroying LA on Christmas Day. And it's called like Operation Santa Claus, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what the H-bomb is.
Okay, so Hunter is given this extra time controller. He jokes that it's small and made for like a little boy or something like that. He then arrives at his home, which he has a manservant. Would you say manservant or butler?
I
Footman.
don't know.
What would be the proper term? It felt racist, is what it felt like, because he's an old black man.
Well,
and he's in like this white tuxedo and is really subservient to Jeffrey Hunter.
Okay, what do they call on the Hunter?
On Archer?
On Archer.
Well, he's often called a slave, or you know, like he constantly belittles him anyway. But Hunter doesn't belittle this guy. He actually treats him with respect. But it felt
racist.
It felt that way. I'm not saying that was the intent. I don't even think it was really supposed to be. But
I was surprised there was
to us in 2022, it feels that way, right?
Yes, it is. It feels that way.
It felt that way, but we're probably putting too much thought into it because at this point we were watching this movie for quite a while, and
I stopped taking notes.
Darlene stopped taking notes, and I was like furiously scribbling notes. Okay, so he ends up walking into his bathroom because he's told that the the other agent, is there, and he walks into his bathroom willy-nilly, and there's a woman who is barely dressed in his bathroom, and it's the woman, like the Japanese woman. I think that she's Japanese. I cannot remember correctly.
Well, it's Kitty.
Her name is Kitty Who. Kitty Woo, right? Kitty Woo? Kitty Sue. She's in the bathroom. She says her ID is here, and she like raises up the shirt that she's wearing to show her like upper hip, and Hunter's like, okay, but then he doesn't do anything, which I thought, okay, credit where credit's due. He goes out and gets this like ID scanner and like slaps it against her hip, and it actually says, yeah, she is who she says she is. So let's now sum up this movie, because at this point it gets wacky. There are multiple scenes where Kitty seems like she's betraying Hunter, but she's not. She's trying to play both Hunter and the dragon. The dragon is making incredibly dumb decisions through like killing his own henchmen, or the henchmen are just kind of standard James Bond mooks who don't really do much. Does that make sense?
Yes, and
There's multiple.
there is an. I never got what Kitty's alternate motive was.
I see. I don't know either. I think it was just because
there was something to do with you killed somebody and left.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter.
But she had an alternate reason for killing.
There's shenanigans at the end here.
The Big Buddha.
There's like they find out where the bomb parts are being kept, and it's in a warehouse. There's multiple jumps through time that are like at first 3 weeks forward, and then 30 seconds or 45 seconds, and then we start seeing that the rules of time travel are kind of being bent anyway, because they're not just they're being bent. And I had to think about this, because you said that doesn't make sense. They're disappearing from one point and appearing somewhere else inside the warehouse later.
Yes.
And I said, hold on, that actually makes sense. Like, let's say they drop like a day backwards and then move in the warehouse to where they want to appear again, and then move a day forward again, and then it would look like they had just moved through the warehouse. I don't know. It was weird, but it seemed to work. Then there's oh my lord. There is a point where it turns out that the warehouse is filled with fireworks and rice. Correct?
The rice is what they were shipping everything.
Yeah, they were hiding all the hydrogen bomb parts in the rice. But then it turns into this Naked Gun scene where the fireworks just start exploding.
Well, he deliberately sets them off.
Well, yeah, as a distraction, but then he goes into like Big Buddha's office, and Big Buddha threatens to use a disintegrator ray on people. That came out of nowhere. We have Hunter is captured by the Buddha.
At this point, I made the snide remark that, oh my goodness, look, Big Buddha, the crime thing, has the same company of espionage equipment as Espionage Incorporated.
Well, it's because he stole the time belts at the end, and we're like, well
it
that just kind of...
It wasn't just the time belts; it's the RCTV, the...
Oh yeah, the Zenith, the Zenith Space Command 300 that he had. I actually know the TV, the TV that they used in that.
It was...
By the way, that TV is where the term clicker comes from remotes, because it was one of the first remote-controlled televisions. Anyway, we've already spent too much time on this movie.
On trivia.
On trivia from this movie. We end up having the hostess from the restaurant, where they had the scene in this restaurant. This hostess was trying to kill Hunter with an exploding owl. Oh my god, this movie. An
owl is supposed to be...
Bad luck.
Bad luck.
Anyway, she ends up killing Big Buddha, like turning traitor on Big Buddha because she was working for Big Buddha. And everyone flees, the feds show up, and then Hunter and Kitty jump back in time, and they end up kissing on a boat that they drove to this warehouse. The end. All right, I have spent far too much time on this plot, because I will say
now they got three weeks to do whatever they want.
Because even though they weren't around, it doesn't matter. They weren't there in the first place. They've already jumped into the future. The point is that they don't have to not do anything. They can just exist. We're done with the plot. What works in this movie? We'll get into everything that doesn't work that I haven't already griped about. What works? What works? Darlene, there are things that do work. Don't sigh and look at me with like angry eyes. There are things that work. I'm letting you start.
What works? I don't know what works in this movie.
The cinematography is actually pretty damn good. In that's partially because
But it was offsetting on me for, it's TOS.
yeah, it looks like a Star Trek episode. It sounds like a Star Trek episode. Everyone looks like they're in a Star Trek episode. Like it's really strange, but I mean that it does work. It just works because I like Star Trek, though.
And their names of their characters made it sound. When I looked at the characters' names, I was going, "This is going to be campy."
Yeah.
It didn't turn out to be really campy. Besides the puns or
some of the half-hearted puns. I actually think this movie would have been far better if it was more campy. Like it just wasn't campy enough.
yeah, and with their character names, I thought it would be.
See, the character names aren't that campy. Again, they're not really that far. Yeah, it's Nancy Ho. Okay, big deal. That's a real last name. Like Big Buddha, Justin Power. Yeah, okay, you know what?
But the reason why Justin Power, okay? Austin Power. What the crap was that supposed to mean for it?
I don't. It's that he's really good in bed.
Justin.
I don't know.
Justice.
Kitty Sue.
That was supposed to be a joke to her being a kitty.
No, because her name is like Kititso. Anyway, I would say that the stuff that does work is like the cinematography. How the movie looks is actually pretty cool. It actually is pretty cool. I will also say what I feel works, and you can agree or disagree with me.
Their budget was spent on helicopters.
There's a lot of helicopters in this. See, I didn't even talk about the helicopter numbers, and I won't, folks. I won't. But I'll say that the acting overall for the movie was decent. I don't know if I want to say it really works, but I'll say that it wasn't bad. I think Jeffrey Hunter did a pretty good job with what he was given. I think France Nguyen, she had a pretty good role in this. Honestly, I don't think there's much complaint I can give about the acting. The acting pretty good. Okay, the movie looked good. That's about all I can say, unless you can think of something else that works in this.
Not really.
Okay, what didn't work to you?
When they were in some place that was not L.A., you were confused about where the crap you were.
Yes, I mean even because they were filming in L.A., but even when they were filming in L.A., there were points where you're like, wait a second, we're leaving the skyscraper because Espionage Incorporated is on like the top floors of the California Federal Building, and
but
when they leave,
you're in a small one-story.
Yeah, he walks out of what looks to be a one-story ranch home
that has this art gallery all over the place.
Yeah, it's very strange. So it doesn't work that way at all. I mean, it just doesn't work. The movie doesn't work in that way. There seems to be very little continuity of settings, or Anyway, this movie is product placement, and I think it does not work because it becomes obvious with all the Pan Am stuff.
It was laughable with the Pan Am stuff.
With the Pan Am stuff, it was laughable. I was happy to see the old Coke machine.
The Coke was
that was not bad. It was one time you saw a Coke. A Coke machine. And I was fine with that. It's an old Coke machine. It's in a warehouse. Okay, I can. Of course, that kind of thing would be there. That's fine. Like the very obvious Smirnoff placement though in like the bodega. Like, I can tell you what the other, at least one of the other liquor bottles was. It's Drambuie. There was like 3 bottles of Drambuie there that were all perfectly lined up. Like, and Jeffrey Hunter asks for Camel cigarettes.
And what was the whole purpose of that the scientist doing the trick with the fork?
To show that he's smart, I guess.
I didn't get that either.
Yeah, there's this whole thing where he balances a fork and a spoon on a match, and then balances that match on the lip of a glass, and then sets the match on fire and shows that the match will stop burning when it hits the
It's
lip of the glass. Like it's
and
again,
then still hold the fork.
and yeah, and it would still sit there in balance. And okay, yeah, it's a trick. It's fine, but all right. I thought there was more racist stuff about people from Asia than there was the butler guy. Like the butler guy, I thought was just like, okay, that's
and you had a lot
weird.
of Asian people in this movie.
Yes.
So it really,
because like the restaurant owner was very stereotypical Chinese restaurant owner from the 1960s. Like,
and the hostess that's the one that killed
Big Buddha in the end.
Buddha in the end. She was,
I don't know. Nothing about the Asian stuff in this felt right. But I will say there's one thing I think they did well with Asian culture on this. Francis Nguyen, the person who played Kitty, goes into detail about how there are multiple different Chinese cultures.
Yeah, because he comes into the Cantonese restaurant and says, well, you should be at home feel at home right now.
And she's like,
she goes, I'm not Cantonese.
I'm not Cantonese. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not. This isn't my culture. And I'm like, good job for a 1960s movie. At the very least, they made an attempt here with that. But then like Jeffrey Hunter goes into this whole diatribe about, well, not diatribe, but this whole big thing about ordering steak and mashed potatoes at this Cantonese place.
Well, I think that had to do with she was thinking they were going to poison her. So make sure you're ordering something that isn't something they already
I don't know. That wasn't said at all. I didn't get that at all.
I that's what I thought it was implying. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to talk about this? See, I don't know if there's even anything that we can really talk about with what a modern filmmaker can take away from this. Besides this, hire people that are competent at lighting and sound. Because I guarantee you, the only reason this movie works, at least for me, that kept my attention, is the good lighting and sound. Because it was done by people that actually had done good lighting and sound.
Glenn.
Let me. I think I have it written down. Glenn Sound Company. Like, hey.
GLENN.
Yes, Glenn Sound Company. They ended up. Everybody was crystal clear speaking, all the time. Credit where credit's due. All the Foley in this movie, the sound effects. Again, clear. We heard it. So maybe I should have fit that into this works. But I already did, like the sound effects and all that tend to work.
Except that they threw you off with being
Star
Trek.
But hire people that are competent at their jobs. This company clearly was competent at their job. And it turned what could have been a really awful movie into something that, at the very least, I'm going to remember for the wrong reasons. I'm going to remember it being like a really weird...
I'll remember the cowboy.
Dude, New Jersey's father? See, here's the thing. We're going to remember this film for the really weird crap that was in it. The exploding owl. Or, like, the strange time travel crap. Or, like, the incredible Pan Am product placement. Like, really... And the fact that there's so many Star Trek people involved in this.
I also remember him hitting the lady that was
backhanding his first girlfriend, right. Like just like knocking her head straight off. Just wow, Jeffrey Hunter. So do we recommend this?
I would say no. If you want to watch something like this, watch what's the one that you like?
Archer. Watch Archer. Here's me. I'm gonna say no, I don't recommend this. Asterisk. And my asterisk is, if you're a Star Trek fan of the original series, this is worth watching.
It's an espionage movie,
it's the science fiction, and it is so mild. No, but if you're a Star Trek fan, You're going to see Jeffrey Hunter. You're going to see Captain Pike on screen backhanding women and like swilling back liquor and almost getting blown up. You're going to see Elena Troyes as his like partner. Like, fantastic. Okay, great. You're going to see the original chief medical officer from Enterprise on the cage. You're going to see him for like a scene. Awesome. Like,
And you get to see Oddjob
Oddjob's in this.
talking with somebody else's voice.
Yes, and he's like paralyzed, so he's in like a wheelchair. Except in the end, when he gets stabbed,
he walks for 3 paces.
and what did I scream? I said, "Mein Führer, I can walk," which is a Doctor Strangelove reference, but you don't like that movie for some reason. I glare at you. So I hope you enjoyed listening, folks. We don't know what we're going to do for next episode, but I will say, for a hint at future episodes in general, we have many Hammer horror films that we have, and we also have on our plate some, as we said in our episode 100, that we do plan on looking backwards a little bit further into time for the beginning of science fiction and horror. So we are looking at doing some of the old Dracula and Wolfman movies at some point, but I'm not sure when we're going to do those. So episode 104, it's a mystery. But episode 105, we've already talked about what we're going to do for it, and we'll talk about that at the end of next episode. So I hope you enjoyed listening.
Good evening.
And keep watching the skies.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.